Hi folks, thanks for joining me again. I'm going to tie you this little emerger pattern today. So without further ado, let's get into it. So in the vise is a Hanak H333 barbless hook. It's at size 12, it's on a fine wire and it's black nickel. Now the hook's at a funny angle because I'm going to be using some resin. This one's from Troutline. It's a UV hotspot resin to create a trigger point on the fly. So I'll just get a tiny bit of this onto my needle. The stuff with the Troutline stuff's actually really good. It's quite thick, so it doesn't run everywhere, and it gives you a little bit of time to work it. So I've got enough resin. Just cleaning up my needle a bit while I just guide this round the shank of the hook. I'm just going to open my vise up and just bring it round. Same with the other side, just so it's nice and even. And the thing with it not being too runny is it gives you loads of time to work with it. So I'm not in any great rush, and then I can come in, once I'm happy with the shape I've got, I can come in and cure that off. As you can see, under the UV light, it really lights up. Great trigger point. So I've got that in. I'm just going to put the lid back on. I don't want it all over my bench. Now the next thing I do is I add a layer of clear UV resin over the top of this, and I think it just helps to light it up even more. So it's a bit time consuming, but as I always say in my videos, I'm not tying these to sell, they're for my own box, so it's always worth taking a bit of time to just get it how you want it. So again, I'll come in with a pen and cure off the resin. Now you can do, if you don't have these coloured resins, and they are expensive, I appreciate that, you can always use a little bit of Glow Bright and then some varnish. Bit more time consuming, but you can achieve virtually the same effect with them items. But I've got the resin, so I thought I would just show you them there. So I've just adjusted my hook in the vise and brought it back to the way it should be. So that's my hotspot in place. The thread I'm going to be using today is the Vivis. It's the E01 at 8.0 and it's in black. So I'm just going to get a bit of wax onto my thread, run my fingers through it, heat it up a bit, and then I'm going to catch in just behind the eye, and I'll use my rat's tail to help guide my thread down the shank of the hook, and I'm going to bring it all the way to my hotspot, and I can come over my snips and remove my waste. Now the next thing I'm going to do is add my rib. I'm using the Vineyards French, it's number 27, just a silver wire. It's quite a thin wire. So I'm going to catch that in the length of the hook, or certainly up to the thorax area, and then I'll come back down. Now you can use whichever dubbing you like on this. I'm going to use some Trout Stalkers dubbing. This is Andrew's Scruffy dubbing. It's the Sooty Olive, this one, and I find, although it's a Sooty Olive, once it's wet it comes up really dark, which I like. So I'm just going to move the rib out the way. It's refusing to go, and then I can bring my thread on and just dub and I want it quite compacted onto the thread, so I'm just taking my time to make sure it's nice and rolled up there. Okay, I'll just remove the remainder of the dubbing from my fingers. Then I can bring it up in nice tight wraps, nice touch and turns all the way up to just about there actually. Just got too much. Just try and remove a bit of that. There we go. Okay. Now it's still a little bit rough than how I want it, so I'm going to come in with my scissors, give it a little haircut, something I'm in sore need of at the minute. And that's a bit better. Then the opposite way to which I brought my dubbing, I'm going to bring my rib and approximately about 1.5 millimeters apart actually, nice and tight, just to keep the body nice and thin. At the end of the day, when I'm fishing with this fly, I want it, certainly this part, to be underwater. Just move that bit of waste, come in front of your wire rib, and then you can twist that away. So far so good. Okay, next I'm going to use some Fish On Ultra Dry yarn. It's the white, and I've mentioned before with this stuff, when you take it out the packet, it is quite thick. Get your comb and just brush it out, because I don't want that kind of thickness. But once you've brushed it out, you can then take what you think. And I'm just going to show that up. Still a wee bit thick, maybe just another few fibres. And once you've got what you want, come in with your snips and you can take away that. Okay, so what I want to do now is just straighten this up at the tips. So just do that, and then I can bring it up to the hook. And before I clamp down on that actually, I'm just going to get some wax on. Make sure it sits on the top of the shank, and then come back approximately 1/4 inch from the eye of the hook. So that's sitting nice for me now, and what I want to do is trim this up. So I want it to come kind of in line with my hotspot. So if I use that as a guide, bring my snips up, take it away, and there's my wing. Right. So because I've waxed my thread, what I've got now is a nice base here. It's nice and flat, you notice, to tie in my wing. Now what I'm using my hackle, what I'm using is this cape. I've selected a feather from near the bottom, and I've done a little bit of work prior to starting the video just to save a bit of time. So I'll show this up to the camera so you can see what I've done. And basically I've taken the feather and I've just roughed it all out with my fingers, and then I've removed one side and I've left a good bit of stock at the front end that I'm going to tie in here. So with the good side of the feather towards the eye of the hook, I'm going to capture that in just with a couple of turns. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the feather out from the fly and get a turn in behind. And what that does, I'm just going to clamp down the rest of this stalk, and I'll show you what I've done there. So if I tilt it to the side so you can see, I've helped myself out here massively, because the feather's now at a 90-degree angle from the bend of the hook, which means when I come to turn my hackle, it should be a bit easier for me. Okay, so you can, this feather's probably long enough that I could use my fingers, but I do like to use some hackle pliers. So I'm going to catch in that, and then bring my hackle round. Now as you can see, that's sitting really nice for me. It doesn't always work out like this. Sometimes you've got to play about a bit just to get, he says, yeah, I spoke too soon, just to get the hackle to sit nicely for you. So once you get it going, it tends to be okay, but initially them first couple of turns are the key. So just keep nice tight turns, and you want to have them as close as possible to each other, touching turns. And this hackle is going to help keep your fly correctly orientated when it's on the river. Then once I've got it nearly finished, I'll bring it to the front here, and what I'm going to do is weave my thread through a couple of the strands, and once I know I've got it in tight, I can get a couple of good turns in. I can remove my hackle pliers, pull everything back to the rear, and once you've got a couple of good tight turns in there, you'll be able to just snip away that, pull away that hackling, and that's looking not too bad. Okay, next I'm going to add the tiniest bit of UV resin to my thread. You can use varnish or head cement as you see fit, and then I can come in with my whip finish tool and then take away your waste. Cure off your head, so there's no need to go in afterwards with head cement or varnish. That's it all finished, and the job's a good one. Now for fishing this fly, I would gink up the wing obviously at the back here and the hackle at the front, and that should float quite nicely for you. I hope you got something out of that. Thanks very much for watching. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please click the button. I'd really appreciate it, and I'll see you all next time.